All right, I want to welcome everybody thank you for being here. And if you can see my screen, you all should be getting this email newsletter about Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We try to send one a week and one on the weekend that's a little bit more focused. But if you're not getting this, go to our website. On the front page, you can subscribe, and it's really important information that you need to be getting. I'm assuming most of you here got this, and this is how you registered for the webinar today. One thing I want to mention, we're very excited because we're having an open house, and this is the first time, gosh, in years that we've done this. But we have a fabulous office here in Albuquerque, and we have really great staff that a lot of you know them, but a lot of you don't know all of them. And we're really excited to have you here in our office talking to our staff. So that's for restaurant members. We want you to get more information about what we do here, how you can get discounts belonging to the restaurant association. And for the vendor members that might be here, we want you to represent your business at our fair. So please consider coming. It's May 16th from 10 to 2 and May 17th from 1 to 5. There will be door prizes, and you don't have to be present to win, but you have to have been present to win. So if you come, we're excited to have you here. And just some other things, we just put out a web page. It's brand new, and I know Lawrence is going to scream at me for showing this to you while it's brand new, but our board recognized that our members need to understand more about the technology that's out there available to them. And so we put together a hospitality technology news and vendors. And so these are some of the technologies that are out there. If you know of other technologies, we have a restaurant in Santa Fe that has a robot busser. And everybody's talking about automation, and there's somebody that's actually using it here in New Mexico. And so be sure and look at this article. We've got articles about back of the house operations. We've got a great education program coming up later on this year that's for front of the house and back of the house employees that I'm very excited about. But you all are here for today's presentation, and that is all about the Hospitality Business School. Now, this program, when they approached the association about this MBA style program for our members, I was very curious. I took the program to our board of directors, and after vetting the program for the last 6 months, I'm really happy to introduce it to you, our members. And I want you to welcome the folks that we're partnering with from Goal Makers, Jeremy Wall and Nicholas Kilfie. Gentlemen, I'm going to have you take it over from here. I'm going to stop my sharing, and Jeremy, if you'd like to share. And
I will. Thank you so much, Carol. We appreciate that. And we do appreciate the vetting process. We've had a chance to speak with the board, with members over the past few months. It's been really an exciting adventure to get to this point. So I will also say thank you to everyone who is here on a live call. To have such a great audience is really exciting for us. So I appreciate everyone who is here, and then a double appreciation for those few of you who are camera on. It's nice to see smiling faces looking back at you. So as mentioned, my name is Jeremy Wall. I'll be our lead facilitator throughout the 10-week program. And if you need anything in the short term, you can always reach out to me. I will also point out, if you see in the chat, Dion put in there that if you have questions throughout the presentation, you can send them through the chat. That's a great way to kind of keep them in real time. We do have some time at the end where we'll save plenty of time for question and answer so that there will be time to dive in and build off each other's questions. But if something comes up in real time, feel free to put it in the chat and we can pause, address that in the midst of the presentation, and then keep going. But without further ado, I will go ahead and share my screen and get started. I'm excited to be presenting today about the Hospitality Business School. As mentioned, my name is Jeremy Wall. I'll be our lead facilitator throughout the 10-week program. If you see here at the bottom, that's my email address, jeremy@goalmakers.com. It'll come up again later in the presentation, but if you have any questions about the program, you can always reach out to me. And there's also a page where if you want to dive a little bit deeper, you can book a Zoom call with us on the webpage. So you'll see that popping up a little bit later.
Hold on, let me see.
In the short, kind of super high level overview, Hospitality Business School is a 10-week program that we cover the fundamentals all the way from people management, organizational leadership to business finances. And essentially, we like to talk about this as a 10-week virtual mini MBA. It is based on a traditional MBA curriculum, but synthesized and kind of takes out all the stuff that would be unnecessary and puts it into the fundamentals of people management, business finances. And so our program specifically here with the New Mexico Restaurant Association, so you will be going through this with a group of your peers at the same time. There's a kickoff, there is a conclusion, there are live sessions. And so this is a synchronous learning experience, but it's also a networking opportunity because you're going to be learning alongside your peers in the association. So quick overview of where we're headed today, just in this presentation. I'll give a little bit of background on Goalmakers, myself, and who we are and what we do before jumping into it. We'll spend a lot of the time in number 2 and number 3. Number 2 is going to be where I'll really spend most of our time in a curriculum overview, understanding what you'll learn over that 10 weeks. We'll go chapter by chapter and break those down. Certainly, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put something in the chat and we'll pause and dive a little bit deeper. And then we'll talk about what the live sessions are. So this program isn't simply just a self-paced learning where you're going through it at your own speed alone. This is something that you're doing with a cohort of your peers. And so we'll talk about what that means and the live dates associated with it. We'll give you some next steps, where to learn more and where to sign up. And then, as I mentioned, it's in the email as well. If you stick around towards the end, we do have a nice little discount for you if you're interested in signing up for the program that will be available, but we save that to the end. So we'll finalize with any Q&A. So if you've got any questions, save them to the end. If they're relevant, you can put them in the chat. But quick note on Goalmakers. So Goalmakers has been around since 1994. It started as a business coaching and consulting firm. Our partners wrote a book, The Winning Manager's Playbook, had a live seminar that went on for a few years called the 5-Day MBA. And in 2015, we began to digitize the entire program, making it more accessible to anyone who may not have the same ability to have an MBA in their life. So how do we kind of frame that is that as a company, our mission is to create enlightening, engaging, and accessible business education. Oftentimes, this feels like it is just reserved for those who can get an MBA, who have both the time and money to do that. What we want to make is a program that is not just accessible from a time and cost perspective, but also really enlightening to learn some of these business principles. And so, as Carol mentioned, we partner with associations to create unique business trainings that will meet your needs and bring in industry experts. So it builds on some of these core fundamentals of the MBA and really applies that to the hospitality side of the build. So, as I mentioned, we have a streamlined mini MBA curriculum. In the next probably 10 minutes, I'm going to spend 1 minute per section. So it is going to be very much the Cliff's Notes, the high level piece of this. But if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. So we start off with really just looking at 2 halves of this program. The first half is the management training. That's organizational leadership and people management. The tools, skills, resources that will allow you to be a better manager of the team around you. Then in the second half of the program, we focus on the financial literacy. We like to use the term demystifying the financials. At the end of the day, the financials are oftentimes a little bit of a mystery if you've never been taught them. But we go through this in a very simple 1-month program that allows you to take it at your own speed and then have those peer-to-peer conversations to understand how to read your P&L, how to go into your cash flow forecasting, understanding the balance sheet and value of your business, break-even analysis and financial ratios. So I'll dive in a little bit more in a minute. But when we start the program, our very first section is set goals all the time. As you can tell, Goalmakers, it's a little on the nose, but everything we do revolves around what's the goal? What are we actively working towards achieving? And we start with the long-term goal. What's the vision for your restaurant or your brewery or your development business? And that 3 to 5 year vision starts to paint the clear picture of the North Star. Where are we all going together? And we like to use the metaphor that any business is like a team of sled dogs. If you're all pulling in the same direction, you'll go quickly. But if you start pulling in different directions, you're not going to make any real progress. So understanding 3 to 5 years out, where do we want to be is where we start. And then we back that into what are the goals for this year? For our organization, what are the 3 goals that we're going to start with? And the 3 that we start with are a financial goal, focusing on a net profitability goal, not just top line, but bottom line. We then talk about an employee goal. So those who work within the business, are they engaged in the work that they do? We'll give you different ways to measure this through employee engagement surveys, specifically using the Gallup Q12 as a way to understand, do you have an engaged workforce? And out of that, what are the things that you can do to re-engage and improve that engagement quickly as a manager? And then the last piece is your customer goal. Understanding the needs of your customers, the satisfaction of their own experience within your industry is incredibly important. And so if you have a healthy bottom line with a financial goal, an engaged workforce with happy employees, and strong, happy customer relationships, that is the 3 legs of a stool of a successful organization. And so we work our way into defining how do we create goals that are efficient and effective for your organization. And then how do those trickle down to whether it's departments or different parts of the organization, and then the individual goals that need to happen. They're going to move us closer, one step at a time, towards achieving that long-term goal of our vision. From there, we go into focus on the process, not a plan. I'm sure we have all gone through the process of creating a business plan, whether it was very early on in the organization, or you do this on a more kind of once a year, every other year type basis. From that standpoint, you'll see that when we talk about the planning process, what we really believe is the value is the process of planning, not necessarily the plan itself. And so we want to invite you to make a more agile planning process part of your entire team's ecosystem. We break that down into 2 halves. The first is taking a baseline of the entire organization today. Where are people at? Where are we at as an organization? Where could we improve? Do we have engagement? And once we understand where we are today, we can start to create strategies to improve that for tomorrow. But once you've invited everyone into the conversation to plan around and have their input heard, now we want to go for a more agile version of that. And so we have this web of information constantly around us. What are the industry forces that are changing? Like someone might read the tech newsletter that was just pointed out. And if you see that, how do you bring that information to the group and say, we've already set our goals, but how can we change our strategies in light of this new information? What are the market opportunities that may be present for us? Not changing our goals as the market changes around us, but changing our strategies to reach those goals in a new way. And so we come with this agile planning process. But after these first 2 weeks, we'll come together. At that next that live session 2 weeks in, we're going to debrief on this. You'll discuss with your peers, you'll focus on the goals, we'll do a group evaluation of these different spider forces that exist around us. And these are the live conversations that really bring this program to life. This isn't just you behind a computer screen, watching videos, reading text, and doing exercises alone. This comes together with a cohort of your peers really to apply and implement this. So it's not just theoretical learning, but it's changes that happen in the day-to-day operations. Then after our live session, we'll come back together in Coach the Right People. First, starting with 3 steps to coaching the right people, defining the position, creating very clear position descriptions for everyone within the organization, essentially a mission statement for why that role exists. But the biggest change is that instead of a job description, a position description evolves over time. It changes and it grows. And so the goals are part of the position description. The authority to make decisions without constant oversight is part of that. But once you've got position descriptions in place, we'll focus on how do we hire the next generation? How do we bring in the new talent? Not necessarily looking at the best resume or experience, but the natural abilities that make someone purely gifted in that skill that you need. And how do you continue to refine that abilities as time goes on in coaching them to be successful? So defining the position, hiring more of them, and then keeping them around is the top talent of coaching the right people. Once we've talked about having the right team in place, the goals in our planning process, we're going to focus on the customer. And not just any customer, but the right customer. So serving the right customer is broken down into 5 pieces. Number 1 is to define what the right customer is for your business. Understanding your own strategy allows you to be a little bit more specific in why you make the decisions that you make. The second part of that is determining your generic strategy. Do you consider yourself a product or service innovator, bringing something new to the market? Are you a low-cost leader that provides an opportunity for someone to get into the restaurant or space at a different rate? Or are you customer intimate, creating a relationship with that customer in a way that is by far and away the experience that they come for? Once you can have a generic strategy, it allows you to make those difficult decisions as we get into refining your sales process to bring in new customers, looking at your operations process to serve those customers in the right way. And then lastly, constantly refining your culture, going through this process on a regular basis so that you have the right culture around you for your organization to be successful. After those two sections, we come back together for another live session where we dig into that. Then the last two sections of our people management organizational leadership are going to be focused on empowering your entire team. When we talk about empowering, it is really going away from this concept here, and I know it might be a little bit small on your screen, but as the business grows, as it continues to evolve, it was all hands-on when you started. Then as you hired some employees, you begin to delegate tasks, but you're a task manager telling people how to do things specifically. The inflection point of any great manager comes from when they can go from being a task manager to a people manager, allowing people to achieve the goals in their own way, and not telling them exactly how to do it, but clearly defining what that goal is. On the process to that, we like to use the term wide boulevards and high curves. You have latitude to get to that goal in your own way. You have the ability and you're empowered to do it. But as the leader and manager, your role is to set, what are those boundaries? What are the clear things that you cannot do in the process to goal achievement? Those are budget related, time related, principles, strategies. And so setting those for either individual goals or individual shifts is going to be important. But not everyone can be dropped into empowerment and be successful. And so we talk about the three conditions for empowerment. Do they share the competence needed to be successful? That's skills, knowledge, and natural abilities. Skills and knowledge can be taught and gained over time, and you can coach that. Natural abilities we don't believe are coachable. So if they don't match the competence that you need to empower someone, then you need to create a coaching plan. Reliability is coachable about half the time. So we'll give some ideas and suggestions on how to coach that in your team. But lastly is principles. If someone lies, cheats, and steals and doesn't share the principles of your organization, they're never going to be someone you can empower. So making the right decisions of, are they in the right role, or do they need to be separated from our organization? And then our last section of the people management comes into do the right things right. Great leaders choose the things to do. So leadership is doing the right things. Management is doing things right. We bring those two together with the concept of do the right things right by creating a system of management. A system of management changes from ad hoc meetings to the structure, the habits that we have as an organization for the types of meetings we have, the questions that are asked in those, the discussions of what does our leadership team talk about, discussing what reward programs are and shared mutual successes, both at a team-wide level and individual reward programs. Going back into position descriptions as a tool to use as a management toolkit when you need to have a conversation that may be a courageous conversation. And then team resourcing, these different ways to approach problem solving, bringing all the ideas into one place. By having a system of management in place, you'll have better clarity, communication, and commitment to those goals. And so that is the first 6 weeks. All of that is going to be encompassed in our people management organizational leadership. Then we move into the finances. So when we talk about the finances, we introduce these in two different sections. The first section, first 2 weeks of this, is demystifying the financials. As I mentioned, oftentimes we wonder why we weren't taught these things because they are guarded. They are kept away in the MBAs and the business classes, but they're very approachable. And so we bring in a case study that shows what this looks like. We'll introduce the case study first by defining what their income statement looks like. How do you read the P&L? How do you understand the nuances of the P&L? Then moving into the balance sheet, the value of the business and making sure that it is balanced to understand your net equity or the value of your business. And then lastly, a cash flow forecasting, understanding how seasonality, loans, other things like that can affect the cash flow in and out of your business. At the end of the day, there's only two flows that matter in business: blood flow and cash flow. If you don't have one of those, you're not going to make it. And so we focus on understanding how you can manage your cash flow in a more creative way. Before we jump into the final section, the last 2 weeks focus on applying that information. How do you change the metrics of your business by tracking very specific things? The two that we introduced are break-even analysis, which is my personal favorite. But instead of break-even being a one-time a year change and when we break even this year, we want to change that to when do we break even on any new financial decision? Any fixed cost that we're going to incur, whether that's hiring a new employee, investing in new equipment, marketing or opening up a new location, when will we break even on that specific decision so you can either validate or invalidate the reason that you would make that call? You use that by calculating your contribution margin, which is just a fancy way of saying a decimal point that you can multiply into any new fixed cost to understand that. Then we talk about the financial ratios. These are 12 of the most common managerial accounting ratios that you'll need. This is not something that is going to immediately make you ready to be a CFO or a CPA, but it is going to give you 12 different metrics that you can track. You can change the numerator or denominator of those ratios and see how that impacts the growth of your business. By understanding how to measure these, you can now manage them in a different way and put focus in and around where you can be successful there. And so while that was about 10 minutes to cover 10 weeks of material, we're trying to give you an overview that this is everything that would come from an MBA. It's based on that curriculum, but synthesized down into something that's much more approachable. And so beyond the self-paced learning that covers this, I will say if you're interested in learning more about the program, and Nicholas is going to put this in the chat here so you can click it and go check that out, but you can see both the program overview, so a deep dive into each of these sections, as well as a preview of the program. And so the preview is an opportunity if you want to just take a little bit of a peek before signing up of what does this look like? What does the self-paced learner experience look like? That's something that you can have there as well. So I'll have Nicholas put that in here in the chat in a second. For an overview of the program is .com/program and a preview is .com/preview. So either of those are going to be accessible. But this is one thing I want to point out, that we talk about this. The Hospitality Business School is a program. It's not a course. And when we say that, we say it intentionally because it's not just sitting behind a computer. You're part of a group of your peers. And we take a kickoff picture with every program that we do. So this is one that happened this spring. And every 2 weeks, we come back together for an hour-long live session. There you go. If you're interested, a couple more notes there in the chat. But every 2 weeks, we come back together for those live sessions. You work with your NMRA peers, so other restaurateurs, other owners, other operators across the industry and across different parts of the industry to gain new perspective, to be able to bounce these ideas off of someone. And that's one of the most impactful parts of this program, is that every 2 weeks, you have this master group of people who are trying to make positive impact in their business, just like you are. And so it builds that context and community. We'll also have guest experts joining those sessions. Our subject matter experts will be able to shed a little bit of light on how this is applied in their business and use these principles to be successful. And we say this, that the content itself is not enough. These cohort-based programs are really important for a few reasons. That social learning is, when you discuss this with your peers, it just sticks with you a little bit differently. Beyond discussing and sticking the learning with you, you have an opportunity to network with this incredible community. And so it gives you that opportunity for both business development or just creating new lifelong friendships. These are bi-directional conversations, which I know sounds a little bit hypocritical considering I've been speaking at you for the past 20 minutes, but during our live sessions, they're much more interactive than one-sided. And then lastly, these are live. These aren't just recorded. That being said, all of our live sessions are recorded so you can watch them, but you get to have real connections with your peers in real time. And so if you're interested, I will say you can take a screenshot of this. It's also available on the website. So you'll see that in the bottom link from Nicholas's note. But these are the live sessions. We'll kick off on July 26th, which is Tom's birthday. I'll point that out every time. But we kick off on July 26th with a starting point. That one is before you even get started in the learning, understanding who's our cohort, understanding your peers that are going through this, sharing your goals for the program so that you have an accountability network throughout these 10 weeks. This isn't just kind of set it and forget it. This is an active learning experience. However, if for some reason, whether it's a personal or professional reason, you can't make it to one of these sessions, do not worry. They're all recorded. You can watch them later and kind of review that. So they're all recorded and uploaded back into the e-learning. They will all be held at 2 p.m. Mountain time. So that is a little bit more consistent with the schedule. So it allows you to dial in around that and fit it into your schedule on these days. So that's the high level of those dates, but it's also available on the site. Lastly, when you graduate, whether it is something that you want to print out or it is a digital badge that goes on your LinkedIn or other professional credentials, if you finish the final exams, there is a final exam that makes sure that you have the competency of going through this program. If you finish that exam, you get this Hospitality Business School badge that is part of your professional credentials forever. So it doesn't expire, but it gives you a little bit of that kind of confirmation that you understand the business side of your restaurant or business. So from here, a couple quick notes on what's next before we get into open Q&A. So if you want to learn more or register today, it is the last link that is in Nicholas's email or Nicholas's chat there, but goalmakers.com/HBS. We don't make you type out Hospitality Business School, HBS. So that is where you will register. You will learn more. Carol briefly showed it for a second, and I can as well on my screen, but that's going to be all of this information and then some. And then within 48 hours, we'll have this video uploaded there as well. So this is the best place to go learn more. However, if there is something that isn't on the website, or you have specific questions that maybe you think of after this webinar is over that you want to make sure we can address, you can always email me, jeremy@goalmakers.com. Please don't be a stranger. I promise I don't bite, and especially not through email. And then lastly, here is something that I mentioned right at the outset. So for everyone who is live on this call with us, we really appreciate your time, and we want to say thank you for that. So if you were with us, we have a last little kind of thank you here, and you have $50 off your registration. If you type in webinar 50 at checkout, you will see that automatically applied. So when you go to the web page, you click sign up, you will see this is your first screen, and you'll see a little section right there that says have a coupon. Type in webinar 50. This is available only for the next week, but a little thank you for you being on the call with us in real time. So with that, we have questions now, certainly open to any questions that anyone has about the curriculum, the live sessions, the dates, or anything that is relevant, but really excited to dive in and share a little bit more. But thank you all so much. So 2 notes about questions. You can jump into the chat and send those directly to me or to Dion, and then those way they're not publicly, or you can share a little bit more by just jumping off mute. So 2 questions that have come in through the chat. One is through Carol first, is I realized I did not mention the price of the program. So the price right now, we are in the early bird window, and it is $675 for members of NMRA. So if you're not a member, the price is $795. And then after the early bird window, that price goes up $200. There's a little bit of an incentive there to go ahead and sign up sooner than later to take advantage of the early bird window. The next question I have was how much or how long is the typical session? So our live sessions are 1 hour long. For a few of those, we do have, so in every one of those, we have breakout rooms. Sometimes we let those breakout rooms continue. So if the session was supposed to end at 4:30, we'll allow the breakout room to continue its conversation, but then people kind of fall off as their time allots. But the actual structured curriculum delivery, the breakout sessions, that is for 60 minutes from 2 to 3 p.m.
And that's every other week, correct?
Correct. So bi-weekly.
And then they're doing something every week though, correct?
Yes. So
what do they do in the off weeks?
So that's the self-paced learning. So the live sessions are to implement this, to talk about it with your peers, to go in a little bit deeper and to dig in on how does this actually become part of our business? How do we make this something that we live out, not just kind of learn about? So the live sessions are focused on the execution, the self-paced learning. We like to say it's about 2.5 hours to 3.5 hours per week. It depends on how fast or how quickly you move, and that's behind the computer at your own speed. Some people pour a cup of coffee on a early morning and knock out one week in a day. Some people take that 20 minutes a day type approach and kind of chip away at it. There's not a perfect way. It's just whatever's best for your learning style. So that is the in between the live sessions, that's how you would approach it.
Okay, guys, I know you have questions, so please don't hesitate to unmute and ask them here. You're also welcome, obviously, to chat them, but we want to answer as many questions as you have now. And really, I want to encourage you to take advantage of this class. We will have, like Jeremy said, a subject matter expert from restaurants, so that you're learning about restaurant management. So I just want you to know that that's going to be something that we offer separate from their other programs. And that's why your cohort will be all restaurant owners and managers.
Yes. So 2 questions that I see through the chat. Daniel asked, are there assignments or quizzes? So I will address the quizzes part first, because yes, there are quizzes at the end of each of the live set, or at the end of each of the weeks of learning. So at the end of set goals all the time, at the end of focus on the process, not a plan, there's a 10-section quiz. These are not meant to flunk you out like chemistry 101. They're just meant to make sure that you're kind of paying attention and tracking with the course. Then at the end, in order to gain your certificate, there is a final exam that is 30 questions long. It blends the management sections, the leadership pieces with the finances. That one is a little bit harder, I will admit, but it is, again, open book. So you can kind of have that at your own speed and work through it at the pace that works well for you. So anyone who does have sort of test anxiety, it is not something you need to worry about, I promise. And I'm happy to chat with anyone if the exams are an issue for them. I saw from, and I just love to say it, from the Owl Lady, as I don't have a first name there, from Owl Lady, are there books and manuals that we use? So this kind of plays into the assignments piece as well. There is a learner handbook. So we have it digital. So if you don't want to print it off, you can just keep it as a PDF, but it's about 70 pages that is the physical companion to the e-learning. So it's sort of the high notes of each section. It doesn't have the videos, but it has definitions. It has the different PDFs. So for example, we talk about creating position descriptions. You have blank position descriptions in there. Separately from that, you can write on that, but you can also highlight things in the e-learning and save stuff. And so the e-learning platform itself, if you want to add a note or have community feature discussions, that's part of it. So there's a lot of e-learning pieces that complement the printable workbook that we do have. When we talk about the printable workbook, one example that I just used was that there is a position description. So you'll have an empty position description, but we also have that in a digital version. So you can type it out into PDF directly on your computer, or you can go through a guided question by question sort of guided exercise that's going to ask you the questions that it takes to fill out that position description and then email you that in the back. So back to Daniel's question of the assignments, I'll say this, none of them are required. But if you don't do the work, you're not going to get the output. And so those assignments are: create the goals, discuss those goals, look through your spider diagram, identify market opportunities. And so those are all built into the program. There's about 5 of those different kind of digital downloads or workable assignments that you can use throughout the program for each section to really take that back and put it into practice.
Question about non-member pricing.
So non-member price in the early bird window is $7.95. And then all of those prices go up once we hit our early bird window close. So that is something to just keep an eye out on. And the early bird window will close the first week of July.
And the class size.
And the class size. So class size, it does depend on how many folks sign up. So we hope that everyone who is part of this call joins us, and we've got everyone in there. We do cap the class, so there won't be more than 50 people in it, but there'll be at least 15 people. And so somewhere through that window, but it just depends on how many folks sign up at the end. One thing I'll point out is that if you have someone on your staff that you would like to go through it with you, if you've got a handful for a larger organization, we do offer team discounts. So if you do have a few people you'd like to put through, kind of bar manager, front of house, back of house owners, you can go through this together. It's incredibly impactful if you do it as a team, and we offer bulk discounts for that. And then, yes, so you will actually register through that page. This is all secure payment portals on our page, and that'll get you right into the e-learning. So goalmakers.com/HBS is where you'll actually register, sign up, and then go right into the e-learning from there. And
then, Jeremy, did you leave your email in the chat? That way people can get directly to you.
Perfect. So that's me right there. I will also point out, and so I'm going to share my screen one more time here. So
Jeremy, this is Cynthia. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. So I just have a quick question that's easier to just ask instead of asking in the chat. I'm with Laguna Development Corporation, and so we run Route 66 Casino and Dancing Eagle Casino. So we are actually, when you were talking about the team discount, could you send me some extra information on the team discount? Because I know it would be multiple directors and managers that we are thinking about sending.
Absolutely. And so, Cynthia, I'll have Nicholas send you a direct, well, if you're at your computer, or I can just follow up with the team and get your email, and I will send that to you directly.
Yeah,
But-
and Cynthia, if you'll chat your email directly to Jeremy in this, that would be great.
Yes. So, and then I see that
Just
the
in
same
case we
question
don't have
came,
it.
a similar question came through from Alyssa, is that we start the team discounts at 5. So if you got 5 from your organization, that's where you'll start to see those team discounts come through. And thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate you putting that in the chat. I'll follow up with you after this.
And Jeremy, this is Deanne, just to follow up on a question from way earlier in the chat. You will be providing us with these slides, correct?
Yes, so this is recorded. We'll actually have this recording of the webinar on the web page. It'll replace the sign up, and then we can share the slides as well for anyone who is interested in seeing the slides themselves.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So one quick share here. This is what the web page looks like. If you didn't click through on the chat, you can see that it kind of overviews it. You'll click the sign me up button. That'll take you to the registration. Just to point out where that goes. Webinar 50, all caps. You click that, redeem, and you'll see that taken right off. So just a quick note, that is where that goes. But if you want to learn more, here's the program. It kind of goes through this. This is going to be replaced by the video of today's webinar, but it just gives you an overview of what to expect in the program when we talk about our expert live sessions. If you've been on this call, you've certainly heard a little bit more than is going to be in the text on the screen, but the dates are here again for those to be repeated. The member and non-member pricing is here. A button to book a time to call us is there. A few testimonials. And then one thing I want to point out here is if you're kind of interested in going through the curriculum again, you can do it there. But lastly, if you scroll down here at the bottom, you will see a want to learn more button. So if you do have questions about the program that maybe can't get answered in email, you can book a time on our calendar and grab any time to grab 15 minutes with us and chat quickly there. So just want to also point that out. And then worth noting that we do have a guarantee. So if this program isn't a fit, you have the first 2 weeks of the program to just feel it out. See if this is a fit. See if you like the peer groups. If this is who you want to be in, is this the type of material you were hoping for? And then the first 2 weeks, if it's not a fit, no questions asked, full refund. So just want to point that out as something that is helpful to know.
I didn't know that. That's fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Has anybody signed up yet?
Not yet.
Okay, well, we certainly appreciate you all being here and hope that this program is something that you'll take advantage of. You know, we're always looking for things to bring you, and I happen to know that so many of our managers in the restaurant industry are kind of new managers because we lost a lot of them during the pandemic. And so for those folks that are new in the industry, it's nice for them to have this overview of how to manage a restaurant. And some of this is management that a lot of us aren't doing right now, and it's going to be a push. I honestly wish that they did this for association management, so we'll have to discuss that, Jeremy. But I really appreciate Jeremy and Nicholas being here, and I'm excited for the program to start. So any last words?
From my end, I'll just put this out there again. Please feel free to reach out to us. Email's a great place. I now know Jack is signing up. So Jack, thank you. And we look forward to seeing a few of you in the program. If you don't book a time or chat with us in the meantime, we hope to see you on July 26th when we kick the program off. But thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. We appreciate everything that Tom, Carol, Lawrence, you've put in a lot of work, and we really appreciate this collaboration and partnership. So thank you to you. Thank you to all the members. And we look forward to seeing you again in just over 2 months.
All right, so I'm going to give you back 20 minutes of your life. Thank you all for being here. Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. And I will stick